What's up guys, Houndish here. We are jumping back in with some Destiny 2 updates. And Bungie give us news about Call to Arms, so they've already made a few changes in a live update, and they've got more planned. Some of that will affect competitive scoring for the event. I know players want to go after that helmet ornament, but as it currently stands, you'd pretty much have to be 550 power to be in with a chance for it. Bungie have a small improvement on that front, so we'll talk about that, other reward and activity adjustments for the event. Plus we'll outline some of the reveals that are coming up in the near future, especially as it relates to Renegades and the content rollout that we'll see after that. So, a few bits to discuss guys. If you enjoyed the video, do us a massive favor and drop us a rating down below, but otherwise, let's get into it. And firstly, as we know, Call to Arms went live this week. It features a bunch of boosted rewards that includes power progression, chances at some of the Season 27 weapons. Then of course there's the event track and all the unique bits for it, but there's a lot of feedback regarding the competitive component of the event, as it pretty much requires a max power level in order to compete with other players at that level. We should highlight that Bungie never announced that this would be the case, so the frustration is definitely understood, but the D2 team have said, we appreciate the constructive feedback you've been sharing since Call to Arms began, and we've been working to address the following items. So these are already live in the game. They deployed the following changes as their live update. They set the Salt Mines activity to only have Taken combatants and not rotate between Dread and Taken. And they want that to maintain a consistent experience when earning points in solo ops runs. The only other inconsistency with Salt Mines is whether a high value target spawns in or not. As obviously there is an opportunity to get even more points for the clear if you get a HVT spawn in, so there's still a bit of RNG there, but otherwise, they've removed the cutting edge as a requirement for all Crucible modes to invite further build crafting in the PvP environment, so basically, the PvP playlists no longer require new gear in order to actually compete, which is good. They also fixed zone control, not recording a player's highest scores after their first registered score, and an issue where the Iron Banner quest, Testament of Strength, was overriding the Call to Arms event quest. So some good fixes there. A brief mention in relation to Iron Banner. Players have been asking when we get the next Iron Banner event for this season, and I assume that we won't be, because Call to Arms lasts for 2 weeks, the initial version of the event, and then there's something called Celebration Week, which I think is where we can basically unlock the rewards that we get. So unless Bungie are going to run Iron Banner at the same time as Celebration Week, which doesn't seem likely as Devrim is taking center stage in the tower, yeah, we are probably looking at Iron Banner coming back in Renegades. And even then, it probably won't be in the first couple of weeks, as we'll also be getting the Dawn in, as well as the dungeon launch and all that kind of stuff, so just a quick separate mention there. Otherwise, Bungie have additional plans for Call to Arms, so in a future live update, they want to remove the power multipliers as a scoring factor in PvE and PvP, which means players at 500 power can earn the same scores as those at 550 power. Players have asked whether this is a for instance in terms of the specific power levels. I don't believe it is. I think it literally refers to 500 power, so if you were looking to score the competitive part, you'd still have to get to 500 power to compete with those at the maximum power level. That means it will include more players, but still not everybody. If Bungie confirm otherwise, I'll let you know, but otherwise they're going to change boons to add 0 red or green triangles, and players will be able to choose any boon without it impacting their overall score. And they want to change all gear player stakes to add 5 green triangles to the Call to Arms activities, matching all bows, and the goal is to give players the opportunity for more variety in selecting modifiers during the competition. So that's stuff they have planned for another update, probably in the next few days, but otherwise they say they're actively investigating additional things like increasing the revive token quantities in the coil and investigating reports of enemies remaining immune even after all shield drones have been destroyed. So there's the kind of almost emergency update, I guess, for Call to Arms. Give me your thoughts on the whole competitive aspect of it. I had a bit of a complaint about it on Twitter, and some folks said, this event is for players who've invested enough time to actually be at the maximum power level, and I don't think there would necessarily be anything wrong with that, but Bungie never advertised the event that way, which is definitely part of the problem. Also, I think one of the biggest broad pieces of feedback from the community around some of the systems in the game at the minute is that they don't want everything to be about engagement. And currently that's more or less how most of the game works, right? Challenge is a secondary component to rewards right now. But give me your thoughts about it down below. Otherwise, DMG also said for Contest of Elders, the team is getting a fix together for limited revive tokens in that activity, so that should be something else coming up soon. But while Call to Arms is running, of course, we can anticipate probably seeing quite a lot of reveals for Renegades. So following the dev insights regarding weapon changes, Bungie did say at the end of the article, we'll have insight articles dropping every week before Renegades launches on December 2nd, along with trailers and the weekly twits. So we should get plenty of details. They'll also be publishing a separate article about ability changes. It might be that that one drops next week. And in terms of some of the previews that we might get, obviously, As we discussed last week, a lot of Destiny creators went on a family vacation, in quotation marks. Given that we haven't had any specific reveals just yet, I would anticipate we'll probably get hands-on previews/gameplay, and that might be next week. Other things that we anticipate Bungie will speak about, firstly, would be to give us a date for the new dungeon. More than likely, it's going to be within the first 2 weeks of the DLC drop. There's also a little bit of anxiety regarding the lightsaber, or the Praxic Blade. Obviously, it's a very big selling point for Renegades, but looking at some of the wording in press kits and things, in reference to the dungeon, here it says, complete the pursuit and forge your own Praxic Blade, a powerful weapon infused with both light and dark, which indicates the exotic saber may indeed be reserved for the dungeon. I don't especially have an issue with that, but I know that some players certainly will. If we look back to things like Dual Destiny, class items were a big selling point for the final shape, but there were a lot of folks who didn't enjoy having to have a second player to actually run Dual Destiny. At the time, there were a massive number of complaints about that. I know some folks will play it down and whatever, personal opinion, but if that caused a big drama for Dual Destiny, it will certainly cause probably a bigger drama if the lightsaber is only going to drop in the dungeon. Give me your impressions about it. Otherwise, we may even get a date for the Dawning, because that will probably be within the first 2 weeks of Renegades going live. And looking at other improvements Bungie had sort of outlined for the general game, other announcements will probably include things like what they're doing with vault space and improved sorting and filtering. Potentially further buffs to activities in the portal, the announcement potentially of additional portal activities ahead of the launch. Bungie did give us the preview for the Season Hub, but they'd additionally teased weekly conquest rewards being added, as well as weekly legacy raid and dungeons being featured once again, although the rewards themselves may not be updated for the initial implementation of that. And so given announcements about Renegades have been kind of slow and steady, we now have 2.5 weeks remaining until the drop, so there'll be a lot of conversation about it. Keep it locked and loaded here, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, I will keep you up to date. We may also, according to plenty of teasers from different sources, be getting a Marathon Vidoc again soon. I know that doesn't necessarily appeal to that many Destiny players, but regardless of what's going on, Bungie clearly are keeping themselves pretty busy. I'll let you know if we get further details on that. But for today, that is everything we have to discuss, so share your thoughts as always in the comment section. I'll keep you up to date later on with the TWID, where we'll hopefully get a few of those details we just mentioned. But otherwise, thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.